Welcome back to another extended horror edition. Tonight, we're diving deeper into the shadows with 3 stories that are twice as long and much darker. We begin in the United Kingdom with a house that learned how to count. The family that moved into the house on Alderwood Street thought they'd finally found peace. It was a quiet neighborhood, perfect for their 2 children. For 13 days, everything was normal. But on the 14th morning, the father went outside to grab the newspaper. Anne E. froze. Their house number, which had always been 42, was now 41. He figured it was just some kids playing a prank, but his neighbors swore they hadn't seen or heard anything. The next morning, the number changed again to 40-39. The father tried to fix it, to paint the correct number back on the door, but the fresh paint would just dry into the wrong number, as if the house itself was rejecting the truth. Inside, things were getting even stranger. The children said the walls seemed to stretch when the lights were off. The basement stairs, which they knew had 14 steps, suddenly had 19. 2 new doors appeared in the hallway, doors that led nowhere. The mother would wake up in the night, certain she could hear another version of her family talking downstairs, even though everyone was asleep in their beds. On the 5th night of the countdown, with the number now at 37, they heard something new. Faint counting noises coming through the air vents. It wasn't human. It was slower, heavier, as if the house itself was counting down to something. And then, their youngest daughter vanished. It happened without a sound. No scream, no struggle, no broken window. Just an empty bed. A trail of small footprints led from her room directly to the basement door, but none led back out. When the terrified family opened the door, they heard her voice echoing up from the darkness below. "I'm down here," she called out, "but you're not the ones who came before." The police were called. When they measured the basement, they found it was 4 meters deeper than the official property records showed. The stairs no longer went straight down. They now spiraled into an inky blackness. As 2 officers cautiously stepped down, the lights flickered, and the entire house shook with a long, deep vibration, like a massive creature purring. One of the officers bolted back outside, screaming, "The house is breathing." The final night arrived. It was the 9th day of the countdown. All at once, every house number on the street changed to 0. At exactly 3:14 a.m., every light in the house blazed to life. The windows frosted over instantly, and the basement door slammed open with terrifying force. Neighbors watched in horror as the entire house began to compress, walls bending and folding inward as if it were being swallowed by an invisible force. Within minutes, nothing was left but a perfectly flat, circular patch of bare soil where the house once stood. But when investigators examined that soil, they found something horrifying. Layers upon layers of footprints, dozens of team, all different sizes, all belonging to children. And carved into the dirt beneath them were 4 simple words. 0 is the beginning. Our next story takes us to Japan, where the world's most advanced rail system recorded something that should have been impossible. Every station in Tokyo is monitored by high-resolution cameras and thermal scanners. Nothing goes unseen. That's why the case of the man with no arrival remains so chilling. It started with a man in a black coat boarding the 6:14 p.m. train at Shinagawa Station. He's seen clearly on camera as the doors close behind him, but he never gets off. He doesn't appear in any exit footage, platform scans, or passenger logs. When the train arrives at the next station, his seat is empty. But the passengers around that seat, 17A, all insisted someone had been sitting there. More disturbingly, the train's thermal cameras confirmed it. A human-shaped heat signature remained in the seat for a full 11 minutes after the man had physically vanished. The following nights, things grew more disturbing for those on that train. Passengers sitting near seat 17A reported sudden, unexplained drops in temperature. They felt a pressure on their shoulder, like someone leaning in too close from behind. Some heard the distinct sound of breathing right next to their ear. Others caught a glimpse of a reflection in the window of a person sitting in the empty seat who was unreally there. Then, on the 4th night, a commuter captured the video that went viral. He's filming seat 17A, showing his friends that it's completely empty. But in the reflection on his phone's screen, a man is sitting there, perfectly still. His head is tilted slightly, as if he's listening to a conversation. The commuter slowly turns to look behind him, There's no one there. He turns back to his phone, and now the man in the reflection is standing closer to the camera. The screen glitches violently. When experts analyzed the footage frame by frame, they discovered the man's face wasn't just blurry, it was absent. It was a void, a hole cut into reality, where a face should have been. Over the next 8 days, 11 passengers vanished. The last known action for each of them was sitting in seat 17A. Train security logs showed each person simply fading, pixel by pixel, from the camera footage, without any physical movement. The transit authority finally removed the seat. Tucked beneath the cushion, they found a note written in a shaking, terrified hand. It read, "Arrival is a choice. Departure is not. Our final destination is the Rub al Khali Desert in Saudi Arabia, a place once thought to be the most silent on Earth." Scientists were wrong. A seismic research team set up camp to investigate a series of unusual underground vibrations. On their second night, they heard it. Whispers, hundreds of them, moving across the dunes like a migrating flock of birds. But there was no wind. The air was unnaturally still. The whispers grew louder, the sounds almost forming words, but never quite succeeding. A syllable here, a gasp there, a low moan, and something that sounded eerily like chanting. Then the sand itself began to shift. Massive patterns emerged on the desert floor, shapes resembling ribs, vertebrae, and skulls as large as small huts. One of the researchers placed his hand on the sand and felt it, a slow, steady rhythm. The desert was breathing. At 3:03 a.m., the ground split open. It didn't collapse into a sinkhole. It opened like a wound. 2 massive dunes parted, revealing something enormous, buried just beneath the surface. Was it a body? A creature? A long-forgotten Titan? Dozens of pale human-like arms reached up from the chasm, grasping blindly at the night air. Multiple circular mouths began to rotate, pushing sand outward, and then the whispers stopped. A heavy, absolute silence fell over the desert. It was broken by a single, deafening, layered voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We remember footsteps," it boomed. "Where are yours?" The ground erupted. Sand rushed in, engulfing the entire research camp. By dawn, the desert looked as it always had, pristine and untouched. But satellite images taken at that exact moment revealed an outline hidden just beneath the dunes. A human-like shape, kilometers long, its arms still reaching for the sky, and its head turned toward Mecca. So, what connects a counting house, a vanishing passenger, and a breathing desert? All 3 locations behave like living organisms. They involve entities that manipulate fundamental rules, counting down erasing arrivals, and remembering footsteps. In each case, people disappear without a trace, and witnesses report intelligent voices that seem to remember things we've long forgotten. Some researchers believe this isn't random. It's the next phase. Reality itself is responding to us, being reshaped from underneath by something that remembers our every move, even when we don't. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow for more mysteries.